What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today we're going to be talking about why good indie games don't sell. These are games that are known, critically acclaimed, that hey, not bad games, at least. Honestly, all the games that I'm talking about that I have in mind, I have a number of them. They're all very positively reviewed or overwhelmingly positively reviewed. You know, like they are just like not bad games, really. I think some people might say that the game's not for them, but that's pretty much any indie game, right? That's understandable. And to an extent, because these experiences are so unique and weird, not anybody's gonna be able to just jump into it, but there are audiences for these games. In fact, look guys, my whole channel is about that. That's why I just did the top 10 of this list of underrated, underloved games of 2016. Indie games are super cool. They're very interesting. Sometimes they're really silly and bonkers and ridiculous. Sometimes they're rough around the edges, but in the end, they are special, okay? They are special, unique experiences that you don't get in a lot of other games, or sometimes any game, ever. And that's why I like connecting the dots and connecting targeted audiences to those games. So in a way, I am an influencer. I do want to influence you guys to get these games, but I'm not just dumb, lamely promoting just a random game. I genuinely want you guys to have those interesting and unique experiences. That is what I want from this community. That's what I'm personally fostering. Even though it's actually hurting my channel. Yeah, it's actually kind of traumatic here, but these indie games and their lack of success independently is actually hurting my channel, which is focusing on, well, really promoting and hyping these games, and it just kind of sucks. Now, I'm having fun with the games themselves, and I'm happy with my experiences, but I want to share those experiences, but it's hard to start a wave by yourself. You understand? And that is actually the root of the problem here. That is what I'm talking about. So now you know my reasonings why I want to talk about it, but that's also the problem. That is the issue. See, the game in the background, you probably have no idea what the name is. It's Cloud-Based Prime. In fact, this was a game, as soon as I saw it on Reddit, the developer shared it. It's like, hey, I've been making this game. I really freaking wanted to play this game so bad, because I'm a huge fan of Jumping Flash 2. In fact, I'm pretty sure that this game is directly inspired from that game. And I just, oh my God, I wanted to play this. And you know what's funny is that I was actually given a review code for this game. And yet even still, after my experience seeing this game, wanting this game, I ended up forgetting the name. I ended up missing the review code in my email, and I actually just, you know, over my head or under the radar, this game left me. This game ceased to exist for me as somebody who is an advocate for indie games as a whole, for somebody who looks forward to specific games just like this. I forgot this game existed, and yet I was directly contacted by the developer too, even. And that's kind of like the issue here, is that in the end, these indie games, remember, good indie games, or maybe even great, you know, perfect indie games, amazing indie games that I think a lot of people would love to play, right? These games aren't selling well because they literally aren't selling. They're not selling the game to us. They're not being sold. What do I mean by that? Well, even somebody like me who loves party games and all these indie co-op games and just random like single player arena shooters, you know, stuff like that. You can just see my channel, you know, all the weird top 10s that I've done, top 10 2D arena shooters. Who does that? I do, because I care and I want to play games like that and I want to share experiences like that. But the thing is that independent developers, remember friends and family, that means that they are just the developer and they are as well the publisher. So they have to play both roles. I feel that the developer, the independent developer here, remember, who develops games, is not really doing a good job publishing their game. Even to an extent that whenever I went to the press kit for the game in the background here, I had to spend an hour creating and crafting the thumbnail for the first impression / stream, because they didn't give me good PNG, like character silhouettes. They didn't really give me good screenshots. The GIFs and videos included wasn't very great. The description in the press kit, remember, this is an entire kit for press to describe and show and share the game, and I found it incredibly lacking. It just was. Now, actually, some AAA games don't do an amazing job either, or like MMOs and stuff like that, who do have dedicated publishers who need to be on the top of their game because it's an online game who needs a consistent player base. And, you know, it's hard doing press kits. It's hard promoting games. I know. That's what I do. That's my job. But as somebody who's a consumer and as somebody who works kind of in publishing or, right there on the hook end there, I can clearly see what developers are doing wrong. And yet at the same time, as somebody who has dabbled in creating prototypes for games and tabletop games and who went to school, Full Sail University, video game design, the design specifically, I can understand how it's so easy to tunnel vision and just be worrying about your craft, your art, your game. But that's the thing. As an independent developer, you have multiple jobs you need to play. And that's not just artist, musician, coder, designer. No, you are also the publisher. And there's multiple roles in publishing even. So the biggest thing that gets just talked around all the time here is that your game's just not selling because you're literally not selling it. And there's so often where you go to these panels or you listen to these podcasts, these similar rants and rambles like myself, but of developers, doing a post-mortem, or maybe they're blogging and they're writing and they're sharing it on Reddit or whatever, some forums, talking about how their game failed and these are all the reasons that it failed. And here's all the cool things that they did right and all the problems they encountered. But most of the time, it's 100% just about the development of the game. And they'll sometimes be like, oh yeah, we went to a convention, we made a stall, we did that. We tried to get some streamers, we gave them codes. I guess they played it for a little bit. It was cool. But you really, if you look at the budgets and if you look at the effort in the employees at these big companies like EA, Ubisoft, or really even people like Devolver Digital, how much, they actually get. It's debatable if they're indie games, but Devolver Digital publishes indie games. They go and find these unique games or they help fund them and they promote them and stuff. I don't know, man. They do some black magic over there, I guess. But they do a great job. And Devolver Digital itself publishes and they make the tweets they make are freaking art, okay? Did you see their E3 show? Seriously, guys, the art of publishing needs to be taken significantly more seriously. Now, of course, I got some stake in this. I've got some stake in this game here because the better indie games publish themselves, then the better that my channel does because I focus on indie games, absolutely. But also as somebody who's a player like you, and as somebody who eventually will probably publish their own game and work in games and help with the publishing of games, I don't know, I would love to be a community manager, that'd be pretty neat. Anyways, as somebody who is just fanatical about games as a whole and indie games and spreading them and sharing them and playing them, obviously, with you guys, I have to say that the whole spectrum of indie devs is honestly just doing a garbage job. It's just not really working out because I think that a lot of devs, they tunnel vision, they focus too much on certain things. They don't realize other things are super important. Maybe they just don't have the skill set to do it good or well. And that's gonna happen, when you try to do everything yourself, and that's fine. Indie games can be rough around the edges. The promotion of the game can be rough around the edges. Some humor might get lost in translation or whatever. And that's okay as long as you're freaking doing it. As long as you're getting the game out there and making things and stuff. And when you make a game, it's not just the code. It's not just the art. There's so much more to the whole game, to the whole experience. It's not just a product, it's not just a service. When you launch a game, it is an event. And I love saying this. No, seriously, guys, players want to ride the wave. And if your game wants to make a splash, you need the momentum of that wave. You need to build that wave up. You have to make it that. You have to curate obviously the experience of the player when they mechanically get into the game and control the characters and all. Sure, whatever. The art has to be visually good, has to be pleasing, has to be interesting, has to be intriguing. All that. The game as a game, but the game is more than a game. Okay, it's getting a little bit vague, but if you want to sell games, you have to literally sell them. And again, I know this might be a little bit harsh because you guys have probably, I know my audience is a little bit older and you guys are just as much into games as me. You probably have watched some panels and you probably have read some post-mortems and you know how seriously devs look at trying to find the answers of why their games aren't selling. You know that they introspectively look back at what they've done and they really try to make the best product ever. But that's the problem, is it's too focused on the product. These game devs are too tunnel visioned and they probably have too many problems that they gotta fix, from art to the coding to everything, they gotta do everything. And it sucks, it really sucks. But here's the thing, my friends and family, is if you want your game to sell and you wanna make a big game and a big splash, dude, you have to really put it forth the effort, or you need to pay people to do that for you. If you can't do it, if you simply cannot do it, you need to admit that you cannot do it. If you cannot publish, if you cannot influence your own game, if you cannot sponsor streamers, if you can't just get a publisher, if you can't hook up with like Devolver Digital, I don't know, then you need to admit it and you need to just put a pause on your development and you need to research, because you basically only get one launch. You know, this is, and I really want to stress, everything about this is an event. Okay, we have communities of living, breathing individuals and individual like niches too, that kind of ebb and flow. And, you know, basically like you can just look at Google trending, you know, search results, stuff like that. And there's so much to the world of publishing that is actually hugely impactful to how much money you're going to make and how big of a splash your game's going to make. And to a lot of people, that's going to basically be how good your game is. So if your game isn't really advertising itself very well, and this can actually be to a point the mechanics. I know that with Tumbleseed, this was a big issue, that the game was so hard and at a very particular point that a lot of streamers died over and over again, that it made the game look bad. So yes, there is a point that, you know, in these postmortems, I'm not saying they're all completely wrong, but there are issues with the game. But I think generally most of the issues with your game, instead of looking at like through textbooks, like right here, I have the history of freaking video games right here, and I have another game design booklet that's, you know, propping up my monitor here. But I know how easy it is to kind of look at those things, you know, the bullet point list of mechanics, you know, what you could have done better or worse, but really almost 100% of what makes your game really good is what looks good. It is a video game. It is a video experience. I know you're playing it, but if you want your games to sell, then you need to make them honestly look good. Yes, graphics matter. That's a whole nother rant and whatever. Yes, it does. And in the postmortems, I know a lot of people are gonna, you know, they're gonna talk about that. They do. They mention those things. But it goes, I just want to mention that it goes beyond that. It goes beyond to stuff like price point. Your prices are way too fucking high. Your game is not worth $15 ever. If you have an indie game, it's not $15. It's not worth it. Not to the average person, not to most people, it is not worth $15. Sure, if you're a giant person and you know your game is gonna be giant and you've done all this stuff to publish it and promote it, and you know for a fact that people will buy it at $15 because it is legitimately a $15 experience that's gonna have expanded content that is going to, you know, really last for a while, then sure. If it's a game that you play more than once, sure. Just like AAA games, $60. It's a game that you will play more than once. But indie games tend to be unique experiences that you experience once. And that also plays into the promotion and the publishing of the game. The publisher dictates the price, and it's all mathematical and shit. But basically, $15 is fucking too much, guys. $5, $10 at most. You know, really, you need to cheapen your games. You really do, because the more people that play your games because they can afford it, you know, that's obviously better. That's more sales. But that's not the point. The point is that means more people can actually play the game that are interested in the game, but normally wouldn't be, because they are quite fucking aware that, you know, if they're a party game savant like me, they know that they're probably going to play that game one time, really. It's not worth $15. It's worth movie ticket admission. You know, it's worth like $8, $10. Even somebody who loves party games, it's not worth $15. And I know that because I play party games. But if you lower the price, then somebody who does know and love the genre and maybe that game, they will buy it. And then from word of mouth, they will explain to other people that yes, it is worth the money. And so word of mouth and designing a game that is sort of curated around obviously a unique experience, whatever you got going on, but designed around kind of creating word of mouth hype, you know, like Minecraft, you know, custom creations, you know, random generation, stuff like that, that creates excitement and it creates unique events that people can talk about. And so when you design games and you completely are designing your game with a very sort of tunneled vision, then you're kind of forgetting about a lot of really cool things that you could add to your game. A lot of really small things that could make a huge impact. You know, like Cluster Truck should have sold so much less. And honestly, I think it could have sold a little bit more. But Cluster Truck added a lot of like really ridiculous shit to the game, and it just made it sell. It hyped it up a little bit more than it should have. Devil Daggers as well. Devil Daggers is like this super small, super fun. It's one of the most niche games I've ever seen, and yet it's sold relatively freaking well because its price point, because basically about the whole game design is that you just jump in and the experience, you're just bombarded with the monsters, but the experience is yours and you have to survive. And so that can kind of create word of mouth. The experience is shared, verbally, and then literally people buy it, and then they share in that experience more and more, and it kind of multiplies. That's how it works. So price point, the way your game is designed, the actual design. Yes, as somebody who is a game developer, right? You should be developing a specific experience, but I'm thinking that if you are going to wear the hat of publisher, you should be aware that the way you publish the game should actually kind of will influence your game design. If you want your game to sell, you need to design a sellable game, and you need to then literally sell it. So yeah, a whole lot of vague things for people that maybe don't understand game design or publishing, or I don't know, anything, whatever. But hopefully I kind of got across what I wanted to say here. That's basically it. I think I covered everything, kind of. Yeah, anyways. I will continue to try to champion indie games, but they need to learn to champion themselves. Yeah, that's going to be a big thing. And then from there, as a community, we can go places. It'd be awesome. It'd be fun. Anyways, guys, my name's Skylent. I'll see you in the next one.